Today we're talking about educating our clients with our guest, Kevin Ker. Hey guys, it's Brian Schlick of SchlickArt, and today I'm here with Kevin Ker, Senior Mortgage Advisor with Premier Plus Lending. How you doing today, Kevin?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So between the two of us, this is going to sound like an awkward question because I know you and I know probably everything you're going to say to answer this question. But for our viewers that may not know you, tell them a little bit about yourself, your living in this community, the work you do, things like that.
Yeah. So I'm Kevin Ker. I'm a senior mortgage advisor. So essentially people that are looking to get home loans. Been born and raised in the Santa Clarita Valley for the last 37 years. I went to school at UCLA for those 4 years where I played volleyball. Thankfully, was fortunate enough to do that.
We got some funny stories about these UCLA days too, that we will not tell on camera, by the way.
Maybe a different day. I have an amazing wife. Her name's Katie. She's local from here. Also went to Saugus High School. And we have three amazing children. We have Emmett, who's 6. My daughter, Audrey, is 4. And then my youngest, Miles, who's 1.5. And we are tapped out. We are done. We're in the thick of it right now. But it is incredible. And I love being a family man. I love spending quality time with them on my off times. I love golfing, going to the beach, playing volleyball, obviously, and honestly, just hanging out with people.
So when we first came up with this episode to talk all about education, the first person that we jumped into our mind was you, right? It's because we had a personal experience with you when it came to education, when we were first-time home buyers, and then just seeing you through the years at Business Connections, the networking group, talk through so many different ideas within your business that maybe don't necessarily affect us right this moment, but just to know that you provide that education and how that really aligned with our business. So it was really, there was nobody else that we were going to choose to come on and do this episode about education because we know that you're aligned with us in that sense. So thank you for being here on that front.
Yeah, no, of course. And thank you for having me. I mean, I remember when you guys reached out to me, I was like, yeah, this sounds amazing because I get to hang out with you and relax. And I think a lot of people get nervous about, doing an online or on camera interview, I should say, but doing it with a buddy of mine is super fun. And it's a much more relaxing process too. So.
Yeah, it's a little pressure off right here, right? We're not having to perform. It's a little, we're just having a normal conversation.
I don't need to impress you.
You've already done that, so it's too late.
No, absolutely. There we go.
I've swam in your pool.
Yep. Shared a couple beers together.
Just a couple.
Yeah, just a couple.
We will mention Beer Club. Shout out to Beer Club.
Yeah, Beer Club. There we go.
So one of the things we learned early on from you and us going through the buying process with you was that you are a great educator, because as first-time home buyers, we had no clue what we were doing, right? And we really leaned on you to kind of help us through that process to understand what certain terms meant and what kind of budget we needed to actually afford a home, those kind of things. So talk about that kind of experience, not necessarily with us, but clients like us, and why you like to educate clients in that scenario.
Honestly, it's probably the thing I enjoy most about my job. You get someone that's coming into this world that they understand they have a goal of being a homeowner, and they understand that there's costs that come with it, right? But I think, we live in a world now where you can Google a lot of things, but I still think that there's expert advice that needs to be had. And, that's where my role comes in. And part of that is purely from an educational standpoint, because someone can type in numbers and get the answer that they want to say, this is what a mortgage payment looks like. But having the real understanding of what the breakdown of that fully is and where your money is going towards, or what kind of loan options are out there, or why it makes sense to put this much down versus this much, I think adds so much more value to that, and it makes people feel a lot more comfortable going through that process.
Yeah, I think the biggest kind of takeaway I get from that is something that we love about educating our clients, right? Is that you end up giving people confidence, right? You're ended up giving them the confidence and comfortability to make the decision on their own, right? You can give them all the information, but you're not really allowed to make the decision for them. You can just give the information and help them as much as you can. And I feel like that's what we really try to do here as well, is even if you come in for something as simple as a headshot, right? We'll sit with you and help you understand like where that's going to help you down the line and how that's going to help market your business. And then same goes with video and strategy sessions and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like that's where we've kind of like really become good friends,
right,
just based on those initial conversations about buying a home, because I think we have that same kind of core value built into like us as humans, but also as business owners, right?
Well, and what I've learned from you guys, and you guys do an amazing job of it too, is that when people come into your office, you make them feel comfortable. Yeah. And when people are comfortable, they're willing to open up. And when they're willing to open up, they're willing to fully share exactly what they're looking to do. Yeah. I make this joke all the time. You have people that go into open houses and they're always like, hey, how's it going? They're just like, good. And then they're kind of just looking around and seeing what's in the house. Yeah. And then you kind of start asking some questions. Do you live in the neighborhood, this and that? And then by the end of it, you're like, oh my gosh, my kid also goes to this school and this and that. And then you immediately have that bond. And it's like, when you have the mindset that you're coming from a mentality of willing to help, and not that you're just providing a service, it's amazing the relationship that you can build with someone. And more importantly, you talked about just feeling comfortable and trusting the process too. Yeah. My whole goal, and I think the way that I measure more than anything else, is I want people to walk away from that initial meeting that I have with them and they go, I feel so much better about the process. They might not remember the 25 things that we talked about, but if they can walk away with 2 things and going, I just feel way better about the process, then the agent that they're working with goes, okay, cool. They're more gung-ho. They're excited about it. And that's all we can ask for in that situation.
So that kind of brought up a question as far as like follow-up goes, right? Because something you just said was like, they might not remember the 25 things that I just told them, but they feel more confident in the process, all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that we learned early on in our business was to do that follow-up naturally, right? Which is we do that through our email systems and just check-ins, because we see people at events and whatever, things like that. And we feel that's a really important piece, right? Because it helps them become successful, whatever they got from us, whether it's, like I said, video, photo, whatever it may be, strategy sessions. We have regular follow-ups with them to do check-ins, right? To see how they're doing. How do you do that in your business? Are you following up after you have an initial meeting, whether it's a first-time home buyer or not? What's your kind of follow-up process to that?
Right. I think depending on which stage they're in, it's definitely different. Yeah. If you're dealing with a first-time home buyer after that initial meeting, there's usually kind of like a to-do list that we send out to them to gather documentation. It's usually then, if they're not even in escrow on something, there's a weekly follow-up, if not multi, depending on how. Sometimes the borrower is even more active than I am, which is great. That's the whole point. I say this all the time. I go, I promise you when I say this that you are not bothering me. Yeah. Like, that's the whole reason why we're here. Yeah. And I'll get texts on a Saturday. They're like, I'm so sorry to bother you. And I'm like, what did I say? Like, you're allowed to bother me. This is the whole point, is I want you to feel like you can come to me and ask me anything, because that's the whole point. I want you to feel comfortable about that process.
Yeah, so at SchlickArt, one of the things that we've done for years now is create a weekly blog and a weekly newsletter. And we found that to be super important for our clients and followers, because it's all based around education. There's no real sales aspect to any of the writing that we do, because we love being able to give our clients tips about, just like we were saying, using their content more effectively, or giving them the confidence to kind of feel empowered to come in and do a shoot with us, not in a kind of a salesy way, just give them that comfortability, right? So, and we know that you send out I think it's bi-weekly or monthly newsletter as well, or maybe it's more frequent than that. So talk to us about like why you think that's an important part of your kind of educational piece as well.
And I think you'll agree with this philosophy, is it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Just like my business, your business can be transactional. Someone comes in and goes, I need a headshot because I started a new job somewhere else. And then they feel like, great, I got my headshot. Thanks, SchlickArt. We really appreciate it. You know, when am I ever going to use them, right? But I think I read somewhere, maybe, funny enough, it might have been from you guys actually, where there needs to be 12 touch points for that person to finally go, you know, oh, I should call that person again. Or, you know what, I thought about something too. And more importantly, you talked about the content part of it, right? Being repetitive in the content, even though it might be accurate and the information you're giving is good, but it might only, if there's 1,000 people, right, it might only hit with 15 of those people. but then you might have a blog one time that comes out and there's 40 people, and then there's 80, and then there's 100, because we can all track that information. The data that we have now is incredible. You can look and see, okay, what kind of content are people reading? And then in a great way, you can steer more of like, okay, this is what people clearly want. And then that way you're providing the level of service, which then therefore can help just, again, educate those people, because it's clearly what these people want to hear and your past clients want to hear too.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that's something that we've really leaned into, right? Is we've seen what resonated with people. Just, again, like we go to a lot of events as well. So like people come up to us and go like, hey, I really liked your post, which also mimics the blog, which also mimics the newsletter, which also mimics the video that we just did, right? Going back to your 12 touch points, like we feel really strongly about that when it comes to marketing, because not everybody's going to read your email newsletter. Not everybody's going to read your blog, but they might be on Facebook, or they might be on LinkedIn, or wherever. They might be on YouTube. Whatever the channel is that's their choice is where you might reach them. And in some cases, like you're in the real estate world, there's billboards, there's shopping carts, there's all those things, right? Where some people might look at it and go, that's a silly thing to do. Why would you spend money on that? But other people kind of go, I'm here every week and I see that same person every time, so I'm at least going to give them a shot, right? So Lindsay and I have a joke when it comes to you, and not against you, but when it comes to you, that you're a great communicator, and in some ways an over-communicator, but in a very good way, because it helps, again, educate and get people, your clear message out there. But there's plenty of times you guys are in a business group together, a networking group together, Business Connections, and she comes back usually from that meeting around 2:00, and sometimes I'll be looking, I'm like, it's like 2:30, 2:45, like where is Lindsay? And sometimes, a little find my phone action, I'm like, she's still at the meeting, what's going on?
Yeah.
Or she's downstairs, like in the parking lot, like on the phone, and I'm like, okay, whatever, she's talking to a client or whatever. And then she comes up the stairs and go with the question, like, who are you talking to all that time? She's like, Kevin, me and Kevin were talking all this business stuff. So as the business connection has like gotten better, and you guys have learned to communicate, over communicate, I guess is the best way to say that. But that's a key part of who you are as a person that runs your own business, an educator as well, is that communication is such a key piece of that, right? Like, how did you find, not necessarily that skill, but find that was valuable to help educate people, rather than just sitting, taking information in and not really knowing what to do with it?
Right. Yeah. So a little background about me actually too. So I come from a teaching family.
Okay.
So my dad, volleyball coach, funny enough, was in the mortgage business, which is how I got into the mortgage business. My grandma was a teacher also. And so I was actually going to be a teacher. Oh, okay. So going into that, graduating from college, my dad was still working in the mortgage business at that time. And he was like, why don't you come work for me just to make a couple extra bucks, push some paper for me, and maybe you might like doing this, right? And so I got into that, got to sit down and watch him like interact with his clients. And I've actually heard this from multiple people too. It was like, and these are people that have been in real estate for a really long time. You're like, your dad was so good at communicating with people and providing this level of education. And I went ding, and the light bulb went off in my head. And I'm like, I could totally do this. Yeah. It's just in a different realm, instead of teaching high school kids or elementary or junior high or whatever it is. But the coaching part of it too, kind of going back to what your original question was, is I think that's a very underrated skill in terms of how to communicate with people.
Yeah, and I think that you kind of hit that on the head, right? Is like one of the things that if anybody's ever come in here, I'll say specifically for a headshot, but also a video session or anything like that, Lindsay's the producer of all of those. And what happens in those is every single person gets a unique experience, right?
Right.
Nobody gets treated the same necessarily, because everybody needs something different. Maybe you're nervous to stand in front of the camera. Maybe you have never done this before and you have no idea. Or maybe you've done it 1,000 times and you just need a little bit of direction to make it happen. And she can definitely kind of adapt her style to fit that, right? Which is super important. So it's really cool to know that both of you guys have that within your realm.
And in a way, like your guys' business is very much like mine, where it's like there's a general roadmap.
Of course. Yeah.
Right? But then you tweak it along the way, because I'll use what you said, is every person that comes in getting their headshot or their videos or whatever it is, has a different story or a unique experience. Yep. No loan is the same.
Correct.
Everyone's got a different job. Everyone's got different down payments. Everyone's doing a different route. Maybe money's coming from mom and dad. There's a million things that can make, the process is still the same, but the uniqueness of each borrower is what makes it fun. And probably like you guys, one of the things I really enjoy about my job is I can't think of a job where I learn more about what someone does for work and the amount of unique jobs that I've come across where I'm like, that's a job. And then you think and you go, I guess technically you need someone to do that, but you don't think about it just in the general firefighters or police officer or nurse or, the basic stuff that, I shouldn't say basic, but the very common jobs that we do see in our valley and just in a majority of places too. So
we find in our own business, educating ourselves on new techniques or new processes, all those kind of things allows us to be better business owners, one, and with just internally for ourselves and our team and all that kind of stuff, but then two, to serve our clients, right? And I know you've been talking about it almost this entire time, which is like, there's always new stuff coming out with your rules and regulations. So it's like, you don't have much of a choice but to be educated. But I feel like you're also of that mindset similar to we are, is that we feel like if we're educating ourselves on better ways of doing things or new techniques, that it's only going to better our clients, right? So is that true for you as well? Like keeping up with all this stuff is not only just for you and your education, it's to help.
What I was also going to add to basically what you were saying, but then you asked that question, which is great, is then you're now providing value. Yes. I think when you provide value, you also build trust and a good rapport with someone. And take my business, for example. We obviously deal with, our main referral partner are realtors, right? There's obviously the top 10 realtors in this valley, and they do a majority of the business and things like that. And yeah, it'd be great to have 2 of those top 10 and you would never have to worry about business ever again. That's not the reality of things, right? So we have to cast a very wide net, and you might only get one deal from one realtor every year, but where you build the credibility is by adding value, whether it's doing, mixers or seminars or classes that we're teaching, right? And just going, hey, you might not get anything from this, or you got a lot of value from this, but continue to offer those things, because I think there's a lot of people, and regardless of what business they do, they try something once and they go, well, it didn't really work. And I'm like, there's no proof of concept.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge piece of our education to our clients, right? Is we preach consistency hugely, right? It's like, not like you were saying, don't throw the seminar once and then maybe it worked a little bit, but didn't fully work the way you wanted it to. And you're like, it didn't work. I'm going to try something else. We see it all the time. We'll sit in strategy sessions where we talk to business owners about, have you tried this idea within your business? Have you tried that? And they'll talk about, we tried it once, or we did this thing that one time and it didn't really work. And that's the one thing that we always talk to people about, whether it's social media, whether it's getting updated photos and video, like all that kind of stuff, is if you're not consistent with it, if you do it once and then come back 10 years later and try to do that one thing again, it's probably not going to work that well, right? You have to kind of try the seminar or whatever it is. We'll use seminar as the example. And if it didn't work great that time, maybe you tweak it a little bit, or you get a different speaker, or you invite different people, right? And you just keep making it until or eventually it just flat out doesn't work and you stop doing it, right?
Or it finally clicks. Yeah. So like, one of the things that we've been seeing, at least in the lending world right now, is we are offering these things that are called 2-1 buy-downs. And essentially it's, if the rate is in the 6s right now, someone can get a rate that's potentially in the 4 in the first year, and then it goes to 5, and then it eventually goes back to the 6. The amount of times I've said that at a branch meeting or a realtor event, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. But there'll be times where like that same agent or referral partner's there for the 8th time and they go, I didn't know you offered 2-1 buy downs. And it's like, well, you're proving the point, right? Which is like, it takes a while for it to finally stick with certain people. You might be able to say it one time and they go, wow, that's genius. I need you to talk to so-and-so about this. But then you drill it into their head finally and it gets to them and they go, oh, okay, now I understand the concept.
I also think too, one of the other things we talk a lot about here is done is better than perfect, right? So maybe the first couple of times you did talk about that program, you didn't have your like spiel down perfect.
Yeah, it didn't roll off the tongue right away,
Whatever it may be, right? And if you didn't do it the first time or the 6th time or the 8th time when it finally clicked with them, you never would have got there, right? And so I think one of the things that we love here is done is better than perfect. And a lot of times people go, but like, it should be perfect. Everything you put out there needs to match your brand. And I do agree with that. The voice and the tone of what you're putting out there needs to match you authentically, right? But for us, we don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours creating this one little perfect reel or this SchlickArtTV episode, you know? We want to be able to come in here, sit with you for an hour and make the thing and move on to the next thing, because we want to continue to drive our business forward, right?
Yep.
And I feel like if you can kind of keep that consistent message going out there and practice until it's perfect, then rock and roll. Keep doing it, right?
Yeah, and I need to give Lindsay a lot of credit here, actually. So we went to, it was, you know, our normal networking group one day, and she was like, how's things going? I'm like, it just sucks. Like, it's just bad right now. And she finally, she could tell that I was struggling a little bit. Yeah. And she eventually got to a point where, I don't know if she called me later or something like that, but she was like, why don't you post more stuff? I was like, I don't know. I don't want to be that guy that just posts about business, and I don't want to post like this. Like, I try and tailor it more towards my family because that's what's important to me. And she's like, you're missing the point. She goes, you provide so much education and value when you come into this meeting. Yeah. She goes, every day you talk about something different. And she's like, that's all you have to do is just talk about that. And there's 52 different videos that you can create. Yeah. They don't need to be the most mind-blowing. And she goes, and I think that's what's happening. You're trying to provide this like unbelievable mind-blowing thing. And it's like, it went back to the validation of her just saying, like, there's a lot of people that don't really even know what an escrow account is or what, just like the basic stuff. And I would say for the last 2 years now, I've done a very good job consistently now about the better done is better than perfect, to the point where literally, like, I'll film a video, I turn it upside down and I just listen. Yep. And I'm like, if the information's right and it sounds good, cool. Yep. I am who I am. I look the way that I look. Yep. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that it needs to look absolutely perfect. So
thank you for being on this episode of SchlickArtTV, Kevin. We really appreciate your conversation around education and just business, consistency, comfortability, all those things that we talked about today. We always wrap up our episode with how people can find you, so let them know how you can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Best place to find me, obviously, is you can either call me at 661-714-8672. You can also email me at kker, and that's KKER @premierpluslending.com. You can also follow me on my Instagram page, KMKer, KER again, 25. Try and post videos at least once a week on there. Just kind of, again, same thing with a lot of education and just updates in terms of what's going on in the real estate and the mortgage market.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks for being here. We appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah.
We look forward to getting it down online so people can watch it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Cheers.